how many of you are international students? I know this invitation went out to international students. I'm just wondering how many of you are international students. Can you type in the chat box?
Or maybe raise your hand too. You could do that.
Cool. I see a few are raising their hand now. Great. All right, cool. That's good to know. Here, let me clear this. Awesome. So as many of you know, and as Megan introduced, I was also an international student. I arrived in US for my graduate degree in 2010. Wow, can't believe it was 10 years ago. From China, and I have gone through all those challenges and struggles such as like language barrier, the culture shock, networking difficulties, visa, all those CPT, OPT, as many of you. So now looking back in past 10 years, I have learned a lot and also have coached a lot of students, especially international students, in their career development in US. So today I want to share with you my suggestions as a digital marketing manager and also as a hiring manager in Amazon, and as well as a professional career service provider from National Career Development Association. So for those people who are in this webinar, how many of you are undergraduate student or graduate student? Are you able to, if you are undergrad student, can you raise your hand again? One more time, undergrad. Perfect. How about graduate student? Okay, I see there are more probably graduate student than undergrad. That's good to know. How about can you raise your hand again if you have any work experience in US? Can be anything, like internship, campus job. Great, I see a few. Oh, cool, a lot have a work experience in US. Great, so that's great to know. I'm glad that for students who are in Seattle University, a lot of them actually have a work experience here, and that's gonna contribute to your long-term career development and job searching in US a lot. Cool. So now I want to share with you the agenda. I think based on what I see, where you are, what stage, which year you're in, no matter where you are, I think this agenda, the content I'm gonna talk about, can help you gain some insights. So through my career coaching with a lot of students, I found a lot of them do not have a clear understanding of what job application means in US. So I want to first talk about that, talk about job application tips and different suggestions for different types of job applications. And then we will also cover interview, because that's one of the biggest steps in the job application process. The best practices with recruiter, team member, and hiring manager. As previously mentioned, language barrier, culture shock can be blocks in networking. So for the next part, I'm also going to talk about networking and answer some networking related questions that most students have asked me. As an international student, you cannot miss tips, especially for you, all those OPT, CPT visa, etc. So I will also share tips as an international student. As Megan previously mentioned, since we have limited time, we will leave the Q&A session at the end of this webinar, but feel free to put your question in the chat box, and we will be sure to answer the question. If we cannot cover everything, I will leave my email to you at the end of the session, and you can email me or connect with me on LinkedIn for further questions. Sounds good? All right, let's get it started. Okay, so first I want to share with you the recent trend of international students in US. So there are three numbers: 1.2 million, negative 2.7%, and 201K. So what does this mean? this 1.2 million is the number of international students in US, and that reached a new high in 2018. And then negative 2.7% is the total number of international students studying US, and that number declined year over year, actually, from the previous year to last year. However, for this year, for the H1B petitions, for those who are international students, H1B petition is a visa that you need your employer to sponsor when you want to stay in US for a long term for your career development. So this year, in just this April, early April, there were over 200K H1B petitions received, and that is 2.3 times higher than the annual cap for all international students globally, and which is 85K. So what we should say from this set of data is that although the international students in US decreased slightly due to policies, environment, the number of job demand and the H1B visa needs actually increased year over year. So for most international students, whether you want to build work experience for long-term career development or you want to just receive a relatively high starting salary, gaining some work experience in US is very, very important. But with such a big competition in the visa policy, it admittedly is a challenge. And then I also want to share with you 3 numbers, because from what we just saw, people may start to think, oh, it's so hard to find a job in US. I probably only the top tier students can find, right? That is not true. So I want to share with you 3 numbers. So that 5 internships in 2 years in a 1 H1B sponsored full-time job within 1 month after graduation is a just experience from myself. So I went to a graduate school, and during my 2 years, I got 5 internships. I used all my CPTs and OPTs, and luckily I got my H1B visa 1 month after graduation. And I do want to share with you my journey of that. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper. Here, if you read from the left to the right, I arrived US in 2010, and then when I first came, I have made my mind that I need to find a job in US. So at that time, I set the goal that after 2 years, I will start my job as a full-time employee here. So when I first joined school, I started to do research on the policy of international students who work in US. And I got myself very familiar with the CPT, OPT policy. And I tried my best to understand job market related to my major, because a lot of people in marketing major may know that it's not the best major to find a job in US. So I tried really hard to understand the job market related to my major, and within my major, what are those segmented field that have a better job market, and also the industry trend. I also studied and communicate a lot with people, including professors, alumni, and then my mentors, and really tried to get myself prepared for the overall landscape, just overall job market landscape, and in the just long-term career development in US. So then when I first started the research, I got to know that in my school, because I knew CPT at that time after research, I got to know that my school, international student could not use CPT in the first school years. And that is, by the way, that policy is school by school. Every school has a different policy on their CPT. So check with your school, check with our placement center on those items. But for my school, international student could not use the CPT for the first school year. And then after that, CPT can be used in either winter break or summer break or during the semester. So that was good after 1 year. With that in mind, I focused a lot on academic experience and networking, language improvement, resolve the culture shocks thing in my first year, because there was only that much thing that I can do to find a job, right? So I did a lot to just get myself fully prepared for the upcoming year. So luckily, and then if you read from the left, the first column, I get to know that my school has this credit-based social practice project. It's kind of like a co-op project with local small business, local employers, where we kind of like volunteer, get immersed in their work environment and help some projects, but they give us academic credit. So I participated on that, and then I gained my first working experience in US, and also from that experience, I knew digital marketing. I got to know digital marketing. So digital marketing was relatively new. Well, it's not new now, it's 10 years, but at that time it was relatively new. So I got to know social media within that digital marketing field, and I found myself very interested in that. So through that experience, I first gained my work experience, kind of like a project-based experience, and also better understanding of this digital marketing. And then after the first year in the summer break, I leveraged my previous experience in social media, and I got my first internship from the Career Development Center's job searching website. So it's not a website, it's a website within the school specifically for students in Stewart School of Business. So because I did a great job in that first summer internship, my hiring manager extended my internship to full 2011. And my role also extended to marketing research and SEO. So as you can see, my first project-based experience was social media, and then I leveraged that to find my next one. And through that second and then 2011 full one, I extended my responsibility to SEO and marketing research. And then the first three was good, but finding a job was hard to everyone. So I was trying really hard to find my third one in fall winterish 2011, but it really took me a long time. And then so I became more creative. Instead of finding a paid internship, I switched my gear to those volunteer work. So then luckily I found my job in a local small business, a startup company, as a volunteer. And then I worked there, leveraged my SEO background, and also extended my role again to web analytics. And then by the end of the third internship, I already gained a lot of experience, and then things had become easier for me. And I used the same strategy of leveraging the previous experience, and I found my fourth internship and a fifth one. And the fourth was in TransUnion. If you're familiar with this credit system in United States, TransUnion is a top 5 credit bureau in US. So that was a great company. And then I did web analytics and then email over there. And then after that, I got my the fifth one, also as a volunteer in a marketing agency. For those people who are in the marketing field or related field, you know that if you can gain internship experience in marketing agency, that means that you can gain a lot of experience across different field in marketing. So that's a really good experience for you to find a full-time job after graduation. So by the time I graduated, I've already had I would say that I was already a semi-expert of digital marketing. And then, so it was relatively easy for me to prove my expertise with all those experience and working experience in culture, professional culture, how to deal with that professional culture and communicate professionally. So then I successfully found a full-time job that sponsored the H1B visa 1 month after graduation. So this was my journey, how I was able to find a full-time job 1 month after graduation and get a many internships through my 2 years. As you can see, that the very most important thing is I set my goal at first. I had really made my mind that the next 2 years of my school, everything should be prepared and towards that goal. So I would also really want to focus that no matter what the tips that I'm gonna sharing, what is the best practices are, all those skills, set up your goal and make sure that you're really clear with your goal is the most important thing, because that will make you let you be persistent throughout the journey, because it's not easy. Okay. And also career development plan builds a solid foundation for international students. As you can see, I really try to leverage my previous experience and set up the success for the next one and for the final full-time job. So you need to have a career development plan. So work on that when you're in school. All right. So next, we can get into the effective job application tips. Many students think online application and the career fair are probably the only two ways to apply for a job. And they also use the same strategy for either career fair or online application. But there is also an internal referral, and that's super important. According to research, most successful hirings come from employee referral, and that accounts for actually 44% of all hirings. And then additionally, it is also the fastest way to hire for a role with 29 days in average. And that is 16 days less than the average time of hiring a role, 45 days. So that is also the reason why most companies have internal referral incentive program, like Amazon. We have internal referral program where a company rewards employees with monetary incentive for successful referral. So we'll talk about this later and how to do an internal referral and the strategy. But I do want to mention that not only online application, job fair, the only two ways, the most effective way are internal referral, and that relates to the networking part later I'm gonna talk about. All right, let's first talk about the online application strategies. So first, apply for a job with intention. A lot of students, when they apply for a job online, they use the same resume and submit application to jobs that look like quote in their related field without diving deep. It just look maybe the job posting, the title, there are some keywords that look like relate to their major, so they just submit the resume that they used in all other postings. So the issue with that is without knowing what exactly the job requirement is, what the hiring manager is looking for, it is hard for them to tailor their resume based on the job description. The result is, even though hundreds of applications were submitted, the response rate is very low. I think this is just a common experience for a lot of students. So we really have to make sure we apply a job with intention instead of just look at the general information. What students should do for online application is to, number one, carefully read the job description, and number two, find those hidden requirements. And then, most importantly, customize your resume based on that. So the job description, resume, and the cover letter even should match closely. And then I will talk about how to find those hidden requirements later. And hopefully that will help you to better understand how to read a JD and demystify the requirement asks from hiring manager recruiter. And then also be careful with your online profile. Recruiters can easily find you online nowadays. So take advantage of LinkedIn. A lot of students, they don't even have LinkedIn. Build LinkedIn. That's the first online profile you need to work on. If you have a professional website, leverage that. Also, very important, in these network days, people can easily find your personal information too. So if you do not want to have too much exposure of your personal life, for example, in your Instagram or Facebook, do not put them as public, okay? So in theory, for those professional social media like LinkedIn, professional website, work on that. For those you don't want to, those information you don't want to share, hide them, okay? And then broaden the place you can apply for a job. In addition to LinkedIn, Indeed, and those Monster and those common job searching website, do not forget about school's internal resources. As I mentioned, I found my first internship there in my school. And then there's a reason why employers want to post openings in your school. And the chances that the response rate should be higher, since the school, because employer want to post a job there, which means that school is in their target school list. So really leverage in your school resources and those job postings on your school's website. And then the last one, very important highlight here, is build a job application tracking system. So what this means, let's talk about it. So the job application tracking system should be a resource and then also a job application project tracker for you. Chances that throughout your school year, you will apply for hundreds of jobs, honestly. So including those internships and full-time jobs, after a couple months or a year, you're probably gonna get confused by yourself or what is the jobs you have applied for without tracking them. So I would suggest you build this tracking system to record all the jobs that you have applied for, and that will provide you a full visibility into what you have applied and the detailed status and next steps. And you can easily refer back to say, hey, those jobs that I applied in, for example, finance industry have the highest response rate, right? Or the job that I have internal referral has the highest response rate. So that information can provide you a lot of insights later when you refer back and want to improve the overall process for future. Okay, now, as I previously mentioned, I want to share with you how to read job description and demystify those hidden asks. All right, this is the job description. It's a posting from Amazon. Those yellow highlights are things that when for example, as a candidate, I want to apply for this job, those yellow highlight things that I would focus on. We can start from the description part, and then I'm gonna read through it. As we strive to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, Amazon has reinvented how hundreds of millions of people shop online. Okay, so the first highlights the Earth's most customer-centric company. That's the general culture of Amazon. That tells you, okay, if you want to work in Amazon, you need to be customer obsessed. And that could be one of the topics that people interview around. And then the next paragraph, sellers trusting Amazon is our top priority. And in this role, again, you can say that sellers trust, right? That emphasize Amazon is a customer-focused company. We want to earn trust from our clients and also the sellers. We'll be tasked with building that trust over time. Yeah, again, trust, by diving deep into how we measure our progress and helping to identify and prioritize key area of focus. Okay, diving deep is another keyword. For example, one of the interview question can be, can you tell me an example of you dive deep into a specific problem and how you solved it, right? Or help to identify and prioritize key area of focus. How do you do prioritization when you manage your work or you manage your academic school life, right? And then Amazon's growth requires leaders who move fast. Another one, keywords. Have an entrepreneurial spirit to create new solution. Problem solver. Are you a problem solver? Can you move fast? Have an unrelenting tendency to get things done, right? Solve problem, get things done, deliver. And are capable of breaking down and solving complex problems. Again, solve problems that echo the previous keyword. The successful candidate will be self-starter, a lot of good keywords. Self-starter, comfortable with ambiguity and be able to create and maintain efficient automated process. Oh my God, there are a lot of keywords. When I read this, I'm gonna be like, okay, I really know how I tailor my resume. I can also predict what are those interview questions that they're gonna ask. Are you a self-starter? Can you show me an example? How do you deal with ambiguity? How do you invent and simplify and automate the process, right? Those could be questions. They know and love working with business intelligence tools, can model multi-dimensional data set, and they can partner effectively with business leader to answer key business questions. And this sentence includes the hard skill that this job asks for. And soft skill, communicate with the leaders. They're analytical and creative, and don't quit. Analytical, creative, a lot of keywords. This is a role with high visibility to senior leadership. Okay, so one of the interview question maybe could be, what's your experience interact with senior leaders, right? And then with high opportunity for impact for those willing to roll up with their sleeves and dive deep to achieve a result. Again, this echo to the first part, right? Dive deep, get things done, deliver result. And then basic qualification, you can read more, right? Translate basic business problem into analysis requirement. Oops, let me hide this. Use analytical and statistical rigor to solve complex questions again and drive business decision, which is also deliver result. Develop queries and visualization, that is hard skill keywords. And the reporting, write a query, output efficiently, that is hard skill, right? Again, query syntax, query optimization, convert data to make it analysis ready. Those are all hard skills. And you need to have an example, prepare example that can answer those questions around hard skills. Reorganize and adopt best practices. And monitor and troubleshoot. And then again, ETL job and a SQL query, that's hard skill too. And then they have this job description also provide preferred qualification. Those are good to have, but not must to have. However, I want to say that for a company that is super competitive to getting, do not ignore those preferred qualifications. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so this is one of the example how I would really try to understand the job description. As you can see, what is the hiring manager, the recruiter are asking for? Really there. It's there. It's just a matter of can you find them or not? Can you find them and tailor your resume, prepare your answers around those asks? Okay. Now, let's move to strategies for career fair. So the goal of attending a career fair for an employer, for a company, why they want to join career fair is really they try to meet and find the right candidates as many as possible in a short amount of time. So they want to just like meet as many people as possible. And also because of this and the traditional format of a career fair where interviews meet with interviewer face-to-face, it's easier for both company and interviewer to communicate and get to know each other. And you should also treat it as you have passed the online application, right? Because online application doesn't really guarantee a face-to-face communicate. So leverage the career fair. It's super, super important. You kind of like have passed the online application and have a direct face-to-face opportunity to talk with those hiring manager or recruiter. And also given that the success rate of a career fair is higher than just purely applying online. So how can we narrow it down and get us more follow-up interviews through the career fair? So I want to categorize career fair, the preparation into a couple of stages. So first, I don't know how, so can you also share, I want to do a live poll again. For people who have attended a career fair before, when do you prepare for a career fair usually? Can you, is there any way, I don't know, to type in the chat box?
Yeah, I'm managing that. So if people want to type in the chat box, I can give a, what's it looking like?
Perfect.
2 weeks prior.
Okay.
Again, the question was how far in advance you prepare for career fair, right, Yangfei?
Yep.
2 weeks, 1 week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So a couple of weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
Cool. So the suggestion here is 2 months before. Why? Why that long? So you first have to understand that for school to organize a career fair, it takes them way more longer than you thought. It's not just a couple of weeks. They need to connect with all those potential employers in the list and reach out to them. And they need to finalize the date, event, then the theme, all those steps. And so I want you to start build your awareness 2 months before so that you don't miss any event that is upcoming in their calendar. Okay, so build your awareness, prepare that, touch base with them, do not miss any email they send out. Okay, and then get familiar with the key timelines and a milestone. To do this, you can easily leverage your school resources. For example, you can reach out to career service center, organization, or even your professor to understand what those career fair will be and when, and who those employers will be. Okay, and then 1 month before, you should actually follow up with your career service center, because probably 2 months before the career fair, not everything has been ironed out. So follow up with them and try to understand more when things get more updated. Who are the employers? What are those opening jobs that employers are hiring for in the event? And also, similar to the previous job application tracking system, I would highly recommend you to build the career fair job application tracking system. And that will help you to be really organized when you go to the career fair. And then last but not the least, very important, do background research for employer. For those who will join the career fair, and then the opening jobs that they will offering, what are the jobs? What are the requirements? Right? Read the JDs, read their background, understand the company's culture, what they're looking for. So you need to do all those things. It's not easy that you can finish in 1 to 2 weeks or with all other things going on. So I would suggest you to do this 1 to 2 months before. And this is how, just one example, how career fair tracking system would look like. As you can see, there are a few columns. And then, for example, the SU Business School career fair, right? The time and the company and what job they're offering, and then for you who have attended the career fair, who have you connected? What are the key info that you get from your communication with them? Who are the recruiter that you know from the event, right? Is there opportunity available? What's the current status? Have you started the initial interview, or have you submitted the application after the career fair? What is the next step? So this is how it should look like. And also feel free to add more columns or more information that you think that would be helpful for you. And then finally, during the career fair day, first, don't forget about the dress code. I don't want to emphasize more than that, but be aware of the dress code. And then also do a self-introduction preparation. You should be very confident when you introduce yourself, and the language you use for international or non-international students, the language used, no grammar issue, everything should be perfect for self-introduction. And then arrive time. Usually people arrive the career fair probably like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or even after the career fair starts. I would suggest you arrive between 15 to 1 hour before it starts. Why? The time varies a lot because depends on the types of career fair that you participate. It can be very, very popular. For example, the Amazon, we had a career fair last fall, and then I had a few mentees. They tried to get into the main center where the career fair was hosted, and they're waiting live for 3 hours. Like even before it gets started, there was a line in front. So really take that into consideration. You don't want to get fully prepared, and when you go there, you need wait for 3 hours, and then your energy get burned out even before you try to nail things down. So based on the career fair, decide your arrival time. And then after you get into the center, use a storage space for unnecessary items. Bring things such as a notebook, right? You want to take notes while you're talking to others, or when you summarize your previous performance for the next discussion, and bring your resume. Okay, and then also background research. Sometimes you forget the information that you did in the background research ahead of time, and then you need to probably put that in the tracking system or in a notebook. Any referral letter. If you have any referral letter from the specific company that you want to talk with, bring that with you. And then once you get everything ready, first take 5 minutes to get familiar with this environment. Map it out in the because everyone who get into the job fair should have received a brochure, right? And then in the first 5 minutes, map out that and highlight those companies that in your top tier list, second tier list, and design a map, design a way, a road, how you want to start, or where you want to talk, who you want to talk next. And then after that, warm up yourself with plan B employer or second tier, third tier employers. You don't want to miss the great opportunity, meet with your employers in your dream list. So warm up yourself. And then when you wait, highly chances that when you want to talk with an employer or hiring manager, recruiter, you will wait in a line. When you wait in line, don't just do nothing. Be focused. If you can observe how the previous person, their communication goes, you may be able to hear some of the question that the recruiter asks. So get a quick impression of the recruiter when you are in line, and then you may be flexible. You may be able to hear some information that you can prepare quickly, and then you are prepared when it's your turn. And then build a great first impression with your confidence. As I previously mentioned, your self-introduction should be a perfect one. Start with that, build a great impression, and confidently talk with the recruiter or hiring manager. Then after the previous talk, quickly review your performance before the next one. Don't rush to talk to as many as possible. Summarize your performance. Figure out those things that you can improve in the next round, okay? And then once you have finished to talk to all those people in your list, do not rush to leave if you still have time, if the career fair is still on, because again, this is a great opportunity for you to practice your communication skill, your interview skill, right? Even though those employers are not in your dream list, it doesn't hurt to talk to them, introduce yourself. All right, so what should we do after that?
Can I interrupt you? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, I know a lot of our international students, what's your advice if they feel like there's not a lot of opportunities for international students at the career fair, or companies aren't willing to hire or sponsor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what's your advice if it's grad students and they feel like a lot of the opportunities are more undergrad focused or entry level? What's kind of the perspective to have in those situations, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So I would say before the career fair, you really need to, especially for people who are in a rush to find a job, allocate your time, prioritize things you want to do or events you want to go. Before the career fair, you should do a very good research on those companies. And then later I will be sharing how do you know if that company can sponsor the H1B or a green card in a long term. But do your research, understand what are those companies? Do they have a history to sponsor H1B? So that's for international students. And number two, if you don't feel there are too many opportunities in the career fair, when you do the research pre the career fair, I would also rethink about this. Career fair is not the place for crack it down, nail down a job, to find a job. It's a great place to find a job, connect with employers, but it's also a great place to practice your interview skill. Okay, so even though, again, first allocate your time, prioritized based on your priority. For example, if you have a 2 career fair back to back in one day, you probably want to prioritize the one with more employer sponsor H1B, if that's your top priority. However, if your goal is not, I need to find a job in a rush, you may want to attend the career fair that provide you more opportunity to communicate and to get to know the overall job market. So be really clear about your goal. Does that answer the questions?
I think so, Yanfei. That was great. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So now let's move to the post-career fair. I think we need to move faster because I have a lot of slides after this one. So review the career fair job application tracking system, and that should happen one day after, right? You want to make sure you have a fresh mind of who you talked to, what is the key information, what is the next step. And then do not forget, write a thank you letter 1 to 2 days afterwards. You will get the business card from the recruiter in most cases. So write a thank you letter, right? In that thank you letter, re-emphasize how much passion you have for this role, your expertise, your background. And then also LinkedIn connections. That's also important for you to get to know that person and build a connection in the long run. And then summarize your overall performance, practice, and improve for the next career fair. Okay, then let's move to the internal referral. The most important question are who I should ask for internal referral and how to ask. That's just 2 main major questions for this thing. And this also relates to the network you have and how you're networking with people in your circle or outside of your circle. So one way I group my network is I group them into 4 categories. A strong connection are those who you're most close with, such as your friends, families, and they are great resources and they know you most. So do not be shy to ask for help from them. With one thing to be noticed that make sure when you express your asks, their idea, express it clearly so that they fully understand what you want, how they can help you. And then weak connection are those you have connection with, but not a lot. You need to put a long-term effort on them, and you need to forge the relationship carefully. A few things you can do, for example, such as find the shared interest and chat about it, or you can set up a coffee chat with them to connect. However, do not overcomplicate. Do not overthinking the network, because a lot of times, if you as an international student, you overthink it. You think, oh, I'm doing networking for something with a goal. That's not the case. It's just networking. Just generally show your interest to that person, right? It's just like a human being natural social interaction. So do not overcomplicate, do not overthink about it. It's just a very natural thing, especially in US. People networking like in a lot of occasions, every day, every week. It's not that complicated. And then for those who you do not have a direct connection, that means you do not know them directly, or actually, let me put it this way, they do not know you. You know them, they do not know you. So if there is a middle person that who can introduce you to that people you want to meet, work with them, ask for the help, right? You need to find the middleman and move them to the weak connection circle and work on your connection, build your relationship with them in the long run. One way to find the middle person is through the LinkedIn, right? If there is a middle person, in the LinkedIn, your homepage, you can see that. And then for those who you cannot find on LinkedIn, meaning you have no connection at all, you don't know them, they do not know you. But there is a company that you want a job in a company that you want to apply for. You just don't know anyone from that company in your network. So that is called no connection group, right? You can find someone from that no connection group for the referral through companies of job posting you're interested in. For example, if you're interested in Amazon, but somehow you don't have you don't know someone from Amazon, but you can find a list of people who work in Amazon on LinkedIn, right? So find those people and do some research, understand their background, and try to evaluate if that person is from the same team or relatively related team that has a job posting you're interested in. And then start to reach out, ask for help in a professional way, be polite. Okay, so quick quiz. Which is the most effective way for job application? You can type in the chat box. For the time being, I'm gonna just share the answer is internal referral. So
that's what most people were saying, Yanfei. So
perfect.
Right on track with you. They're listening.
Great. All right, so let's move to interview tips with the recruiter, teams, and hiring manager. Okay. So let's first talk about interview tips with the recruiter. Okay. Recruiter interview usually happen in the first round of interview. It can be through phone or can be on-site, it can be video. It really depends on companies. Remember this, recruiters, they have a few tasks that they need to accomplish during the interview. Number one, they need to understand and confirm the candidate has met the bar for hard skill and academic background and work experience bar. Number two, they need to ensure that the candidate can communicate with English very well, and they have a good soft skill, interpersonal skill. And number three, they need to make sure the candidate's personality and working style from high level match with company's culture. Okay, so they really have those three tasks to do in that interview with you. So how can you address each of these and leave them peace of mind? For the hard skill, usually for the first round or interview with a recruiter, even though the interview can do some judgment around the hard skill, but because they're not the subject matter, they're not the expert in this field, usually they will not go too deep on the professional aspect. So chances that they will not ask too many questions around hard skill, but what you should do is get yourself, be very familiar with your resume. And then when answering hard skill related questions, use keywords, okay? Keywords, I just share how I read those keywords from job description. So use your keywords, jargons, industry jargons, and tools that are required in the job description. For the communication skill, admittedly, this can be a challenge for most international students whose first language are not English. However, people usually worry about the language itself, such as grammar. That's true, but that's just one aspect of it. Another aspect of a communication that also cannot be ignored is whether or not the candidate can express accurately in a logical way and a professional way. So there are two aspects of communication. Communication is not just about language, the grammar. It's also about how you think, your thinking process. Okay, can you put your thinking clearly? Like even if when you speak in your native language, can you put your thinking clearly so that people can understand you accurately? Okay, so there are two aspects. For the language itself, the grammar, those stuff, we all know that it takes a long-term effort to improve. So for this particular session, I would not talk about how to improve your English, but what you can do is you need to be very familiar with your resume again and prepare questions and answer around your resume. Or those answers prepared need to have a great grammar. You can write it down, correct the language, and remember it, right? Remember to the point that you can just like talk to it naturally. To do that, you can find a mentor, you can find friends for mock interview, right? Just do mock interview as many as possible, and then collect those questions they ask, and then prepare for the answers. The more questions you prepared, the more familiar you will be with the answer. Okay, you will perform better during the interview. How can you express yourself clearly in a logical and professional way? There is a model called STAR, S-T-A-R. S is situation, T is task, A is action, R is a result. You can find that online. You can do Google search STAR, S-T-A-R, STAR model. So when you prepare for answers, use the STAR model, and it's a great tool to practice your thinking process and your communication. And then the last one, personality and culture fit. Recruiter will try to evaluate your personality or working style through the interview and see how much you fit into the team and company. Whether you will stay in the company for a long run. So to prepare this, first be yourself and do not try to fake anything, honestly. And then do research to understand the company's culture, their mission and their culture, and then what they really value at, right? Who their main clients can be, and then where they are in the industry. You can find all this information online in the company's website. And then let's move to the interview tips with team member, or you can also call it a business partner, team member, counterpart team member, something like that. And this really the interviewer also come from, it can be from the similar related team. For example, if I'm in marketing, digital marketing team, that people can also from brand marketing team, where that's a counterpart. That's the business partner. Or it can also come from finance team, because as a marketing manager, we manage budget and we work with finance a lot. So it can also come from the finance team or the business analytics team, because they do deeper data analysis that they support the marketing decisions. So it can also come from that team. They usually focus on three things too. Number one, your professional experience and your hard skill. And then number two, whether you can be a good partner to work with. And number three, whether you can solve their problems or make their work easier by supporting them with your work. Here are tips preparing for interview with them. So before the peer interview, I suggest you first do research about interviews, professional profile. A good place is LinkedIn. If the job is referred by internal employer, you can also ask the referral about the interview's background, his or her role, team, those stuff. And then the next one, once you have completed the research, prepare your interview communication plan and your self-introduction accordingly. Chances are based on where they are, what the background is, you can adjust your self-introduction relatively. When you interview with a business partner, be very engaged in the conversation instead of purely answer questions. A lot of people, international people, they do not have confidence, or they are afraid of sharing the professional insights about related topics. I would say do not think of it that way. Be really confident and share about your professional insights about related topics during the interview. You can have a really natural communication instead of just a purely ask and answer interview format. The communication, back and forth interaction will actually make them feel better, because it kind of like show them how your communication, your working relationship will be if you get the job. So I would say really naturally communicate with them. Do not afraid of sharing the insights that you have. And then additionally, if you can find any, or you can hear any specific problem that they're trying to solve currently, use your professional experience to propose a few suggestions. That doesn't hurt, never hurt. Okay, try to demonstrate your problem solver, because they want you to be able to solve problems for them. The next one is an interview with the hiring manager. A few things they want to understand is, are you interested in this role? For this one, you should really leverage the opportunity to demonstrate your passion, how this role and experience will help build your long-term career success. And again, do not afraid of asking questions. A lot of time, ask good questions to not only showcase your interest, but also demonstrate your professional experience. And then they would also want to say if there is a job fit and a culture fit. So then read the JD, right? Read the JD. Do a demand and supply analysis. Demand is things they are looking for. Supply is the experience that you can supply with. And then they also want to say if you're a quick learner, how fast can you be onboarded? Can you just, do you need to take a long time to get onboarded and start to work, or you can just like easily onboard it and start to work and solve problems right away, right? And then for that one, you probably want to demonstrate your fast learner through your previous experience. And then can you help achieve his or her goal, right? What's your added value? Again, loved your experience. How did you achieve the goal? How did you achieve the team goal previously? Or if it's an academic project, how did you contribute or achieve the academic result, achieve the academic project goal, right? Be prepared. And then chemistry between you and her. Remember that hiring manager is also a human being. They expect good relationship with their team. And also they have their work style, they have their own management style. So for example, some manager focus on details and expect daily checking with his team. And some, they just manage the overall direction and they expect you to own the entire program, more hands-off. So you should really use this interview opportunity to understand that person's management style, okay? Does his management style fit into your working style? Remember, it's when they interview you, you are also interviewing them or interview for the job. It's not job application or interview. It's not just they select you. You are also selecting the company, and you are also selecting your future bosses or people you're gonna work with in your daily life. So that's also very important. So don't be afraid to ask questions such as what's your management style? Also, you can leverage your network to understand if the internal referral or someone can tell you that people's management style.
Faye, can I ask you a question before we
go
to networking?
Sure.
I know I get a lot of questions from international students on through the application process and the interview process, how to talk about their visa status.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do they wait to be asked about it? Are they upfront about it? What did you what was your philosophy and how did you approach that?
Yeah, great question. So I would first do background research here. Now we're talking about this, I can share these resources now. There is a website, I also previously mentioned this one. It's called myvisajobs.com, okay? Before you even interview that person, you can go there and find out if that company historically sponsored H1B, okay? If you figure that they sponsor H1B, and by the way, you can also find what is the job field that they sponsor H1B, because some companies sponsor middle to higher level, some companies do not sponsor entry level, some companies sponsor analytical STEAM majors, some do not. Okay, so you can find that here. So ideally before the interview, you should have known that already. And then if luckily that company sponsor H1B, great, just directly ask for that. Okay, in your interview, do not hide it because they sponsor it. However, if you haven't seen that company sponsor any visa, chances that it's hard for them to make a case for that individual person. So I would really think about how do you want to view this opportunity. If the goal is to get this job, first I would not hide things. I would not say, hey, I don't. And then later you say, when you get the offer, you say, yes, I need. That's not, don't burn the bridge for a long-term relationship. But if they don't sponsor H1B, I think that's fine. It's a great opportunity for you to practice your interview skill. And you just say you don't need, if you really don't need, and then you just use it as a way to practice interview. But ideally, you should have known that before the interview. This website is a great resources. Does that answer the question?
I think so. That's perfect. If anybody else has follow-up to that, please put it in the chat, and then I can forward it to Yanfei. Thanks, Yanfei, for jumping around. I appreciate it.
Oh, totally. So let's move to networking. Okay, so there are a few networking FAQs that I want to share my answer with you. So the first thing is, what are the things to keep in mind when you network with others? So I would say three things: why, who, and how. Why, meaning why do you want to attend this networking event? What is your goal, right? Because you only have a limited time and energy, and everything has the opportunity cost, right? So be laser focused and selective when you decide if you should participate in a networking event. For those who are in a really urgent need to find a job, I would definitely prioritize this networking that either hosted by industries committee, for example, or specific companies, or that really relates to your major and the job field that you gonna go apply for a job from. So be prioritized and know the goal. And who. Once you understand and know that you want to attend the event, do your research and see who will also be attending the networking event, and prepare your elevator pitch accordingly. That's super important. Introduce yourself, right? You want to impress others at first. You don't want to make people feel that you cannot even do your self-introduction perfectly. And then third, how do you network? There are a few tips, and the first is always send a follow-up message afterwards. It can include, such as, for example, discuss the topics or other opening items that you promised to follow up. So always follow up, okay? And then networking is a long-term effort, as I previously mentioned. Do not only follow up when you have asked. You can use these previous tips for managing the weak connection circle that I shared with people you network with. So it's a long-term process. And then last but not the least, remember, people always care about themselves more than you. It's just a psychological thing in human being. So less talking, more listening at first. Okay, you want to know that person. Let them talk. And then, especially when that person you talk to is in your weak circle or no direct connection circle, you want to understand them more, okay? And then you can share more about yourself when it's a good time and when they show interest to you. So when they show interest to you, when they ask you about yourself, do not be shy, okay? But you first want to give this opportunity to them. And then second question, how to do self-introduction during a networking event. 3 sentences, very straightforward. Based on the type of the event, tailor your answer. But high level, who you are, what do you do, or / what can you offer? What do you do? What can you offer? Why? What are you interested in? Right? What help do you want? Right? Who you are? What can you offer? What are you interested in? What do you want? What help do you want? So those 3 are the guideline for any question in the self-introduction, but really based on the criteria, based on the event and based on the audience. The next one, how to maintain a long-term relationship after the first chat. Again, follow up with them, right? You can follow up with discussion point, follow-ups that I shared before. Follow up with them, right? Make sure they know that you do not just want to talk to them. You care about the long-term relationship. You want to keep that good relationship with them. You want to build the connection. And then follow up in appropriate frequency. You don't want to follow up too frequently. Also, you don't want to wait for like a year or half year to follow up with them. Really follow up when you feel there is the opportunity. For example, there is an event that you think probably both of you are interested to attend, and then you can go and ask around. Or if there is a new piece of information that you think that person may be interested in, share that with them. Or if it's a holiday, just send a simply great. So follow up with them in appropriate frequency. And then the fourth one is how to network as an introvert. So for this one, I want to say that, so first, again, be clear about why. For introvert, I know it's extremely hard for them to initiate or be the icebreaker, go out, reach out to others. But we really need to be clear that if you want to find a job in US, if you want to build your network, build your circle, network is a must, okay? Network is a must. So be clear about that. Instead of step out of your comfort zone. And then number two, be yourself. It's okay, it's great, it's perfect to be an introvert, right? And then be yourself. This may sound cliche, but it's true. Beating yourself up for not having a loud or extroverted personality will only hold you back. So be honest, you're introvert, that's okay. And then take baby steps. Okay, so when you are about to reach out to someone, you probably want to practice on your own. So for example, you probably want to practice with yourself about your introduction a lot. And then you can gradually move to your close inner circle, your strong connection, right? Practice with them. And then expand that circle gradually. And once you feel more comfortable talking to more people, expand that comfort zone. And then mock interview is another mock networking is another great suggestion. And then last one is you can take public speaking course, right? That's a great way to practice your communication skill. Public speaking skill also offer you a lot of opportunity to talk aloud, talk with people, someone else. I just want to share tips for international students, especially those who need to deal with OPT, CPT. The first tips is don't put the cart before the horse. Okay, we all know that international students, we need a CPT, we need OPT, we need to worry about a visa, but a solid career development plan, your professional knowledge, your academic background excellence, or well-written resume, your communication skill, you should prioritize those. Okay, those are the foundation. Okay, without those, no matter how much you know about CPT, OPT, visa, you cannot get a job. So don't put the cart before the horse. Okay, with that being said, you need to be strategic, right? Be creative. Know your goal, work backwards, and bridge that gap, similar to how I did in my 2 years. And be creative when getting your experience. For example, when I really tried hard to find a internship, I knew it took a long time. So maybe you want to switch gear to volunteer job, to unpaid, right? As long as you can gain experience. It's like snowball. You gain experience, doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid, as long as it's a related experience that you can really gain your experience and knowledge. It's a great experience, and you can build up based on that. And familiarize yourself with the visa policy as early as possible. Okay, you don't want to miss those great timeline and milestone. When do you want to apply for CPT? When do you want to apply for OPT? Those everything has a timeline, so do not miss those timeline. Work with your career service center, work with our placement center for that, and focus on international talent-friendly employers. And the visajobs.com is a great resource for you to know who are quote friendly. And tip 3, leverage different resources. This is the one, visajobs.com. And then in addition to that, this is the internship.com. A lot of people, they want to find an internship. They go to Indeed or Monster. I have seen that the response rate is higher in this internships.com because they only focus on internship, only for people who want to find an internship. So, so this is another resources. Another one is this Going Global exclusive H1B plus database, and that provides millions of visa application listing for American employers seeking for higher international talent in United States. So this is another great resource specific for international students.
Yanfei, we Going Global requires schools to have an account with them. We decided actually to go with another company called Career Shift, and they have something similar where they have an H1B plus database. So students, that resource Career Shift is located on both Albert's Placement Center website and Career Engagement Office website if you want to access it. It's very similar to what Going Global has. And our offices can help you use that as well.
Here we go. Great. All right, then the last one is the resources a lot of career development professional coach know. It's called allnight.com. And this is a great resource, and this is directly sponsored by U.S. Department of Labor, and it provides a lot of real-time information for job, career, occupation, and it also has a lot of information about career development and common skill for a particular job or how its daily work looks like. So this is another great resource.